88534 ku kitimba tuli ku www.radiomunansi.com. nga bwe twabasuubiza era nga bwe tuzze tulanga wiiki eno ku bitimba ebyenjawulo nti olwaleero tujja kukyaza mukadde waffe, mukwano gwaffe, mukulembeze waffe ow'ekibiina ekya Uganda Federal Democratic Organization, Dr. Aggrey Kiyingi. Ali naffe wenjogerera nga azze okutubuulira ku ebyo bye tubuulirako omulundi oguwedde, mpozi n'ekisinga obukulu otukubira map n'otuwa ekifaananyi wa gye tulina okulaga nga bannayuganda n'eggwanga lyaffe okuva olwaleero okugenda mu maaso. Dr. Kiyingi nga bwe mujjukira tugamba nti yeesibye bbiri okununula eggwanga lyaffe okulijja mu kikoligo ky'obuddu kye lirimu olwaleero n'effuga bbi erya Museveni n'amalindirizi ge. Nga dokita atugamba nti omwaka ogujja agenda kugasimbagana ne Museveni mu kalulu. Twagala okuwulira oba bye bigambo ebyo byennyini ye pulaani gye tugenderako okuva olwaleero n'okugenda mu maaso, oba waliwo amakubo amalala nga constitution yaffe bwekola ki bwetuwa amakubo amangi ge tulina okuyitamu okweretera emirembe bwe tuba nga tulina effuga bbi mu ggwanga. Sijja kwogera bingi, njagala genda butereevu nyanirize Dr. Kiyingi, naye nga bwe twabasuubiza nti programu ya leero, programu yaffe ya Luganda, naye Dr. Kiyingi agenda kutwadressinga mu lufuutifuuti oba oluzungu oba olungereza. Awatali kubalwisa kantwale omukisa guno akazindalo nkaddusi kagende mu Australia, kagende eri Dr. Kiyingi. Dr. Kiyingi, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, good evening in some parts of the USA and Canada and South America. It must be good evening in Europe, Africa, Middle East, and good morning in Australia and Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very critical issue to talk about. And unfortunately, we don't have time. Time is running out. And for those of you who are still able, and for those of you who are still alive, history will judge us very harshly if we don't take remedial steps now. As many of you know, I'm a medical doctor, and in medical language, the situation is very critical. The cancer is malignant, and if we don't cut off that part of the body, then the rest of the body is going to die, and definitely going to die very soon. Now, as all of you know, I'm talking about Uganda. Over the last 28 years or so, it has been ruled with an iron hand. It has been ruled by a mafioso-style government led by dictator Kaguta Yoweri Museveni. And many of you still ask, why has it taken so long for us to realize, or for many people to realize? The answer is, for those who are inside Uganda, and I know many of you I'm addressing today are actually not in Uganda, but for those of them that are in Uganda, many have tried to be fair to them, but the situation is very tough. Museveni is a bully. But at the same time, I want to reassure you that from the time I went public, I've been working on this for some time now, and I'll tell you a little bit of the background. This man is a bully, but he's a coward. So I want to encourage you not to fear. Museveni is actually a coward. And I'll tell you why later on. And therefore, the time has come for everybody to stand up, to support our brothers and sisters inside Uganda, who've been harassed, who've been tortured, who've been killed, and therefore cannot even talk, cannot write, cannot. And now he's bought a machine worth $200 million US. Now, for those of you, you can calculate how much that could do for the country in terms of buying aspirin and bandages, gloves for midwives, food for the school children. $200 million US he's just spent to buy a machine to spy on the Ugandans by tapping their telephones, by reading their emails, and controlling the press and internet. Now, this is the type of guy we're talking about. A little bit of background. I had been asked by many people that I should get actively involved in politics after the saga of the issues that arose 5-10 years ago. I was a bit reluctant, but in the end, I saw that if I don't, I'm abrogating my responsibility and I'll not be able to live with it. Therefore, over the last few years, I have been busy laying strategies of how to unseat Mr. Museveni in the 216 presidential polls. To this end, I formed a political platform. When I was being introduced, this was called a party, but it's actually not a party. And I use my words very carefully. This is a political platform. The reason is that parties have polarized the minds of the people in Uganda. Parties have got a wrong connotation. Parties are a scene of confrontation. Now, this is what Mr. Museveni wants. And you can never unseat him if you're fighting among yourselves. I know I'm addressing a number of people now from different organizations and from different beliefs. But I'm sure the main uniting factor for all of us is the love for Uganda. And therefore, even before I continue, I'd like to appeal all of you. From today, drop your differences. From today, let's work together. From today, let's unseat dictator Museveni. We don't have much time. Time is running out. It's now or never. Now, this political platform is for everyone, and that's why it's not called a party. I chose the name very carefully, Uganda Federal Democratic Organization. I know that some people have been questioning why it's called that, and I'll explain. Because this is fundamental if all of us are going to get together. And then I'll tell you what we have achieved, or what I really single-handedly I have achieved. And now I want all of you to join, to work hand in hand in this noble task. And it's not impossible. I know many people are scared of Museveni. I'm not. Whatever it takes, we need to liberate Uganda. Now, Uganda, of course, Uganda is the country. Federal, this was chosen very carefully. And many of you who know the history and even the current affairs of Uganda know that initially Uganda was really a conglomeration of states. This was used very effectively during the colonial days. However, it was used for development at that time and for stable government and a stable country. However much we hate the colonialists, they saw the virtue of that type of pseudo-federal state. Now, come our Ugandan leaders, most of them, not all of them, but most of them, except one or two, but the one or two didn't last very long, have used this to the detriment and to the subjugation of the Ugandan population. They've poisoned their minds to tell them that if you are an Acholi and you're proud to be an Acholi, then you're not Ugandan. Then you don't have the country as heart. They've poisoned the people to show them that if you are an Iteso and you're proud to be a Muteso, then you're not a good Ugandan. They've corrupted the minds of the people to show that the people from the eastern region, if you practice Imbalo, then you are unprogressive and therefore you're not a true Ugandan. Now let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know about Imbalo, the people in the eastern region of Uganda believe the man is not a man until he's gone through that process of Imbalo. Now, that, you cannot put a value to that. This is their core. This is their life. This is how they live. Are you going to deny them claiming to be men? No. This is what the politicians have done. They've paralyzed the society. Now, I'm telling you that for somebody to come from Bunyoro and be proud that he's a Bunyoro, I think it is very good for Uganda. And somebody from West Nile to stand up and say, hey, I'm from West Nile. This is very good for Uganda. And do you know what that is going to do? It is going to cause development at unprecedented scale in Uganda. And it is going to cause healthy competition. Because even leaving politics and going on sports and social services, if we have regional competitions, I'm sure the people from Kiyingi, I know some of my friends from Kiyingi, I don't know whether Munini Mulera from Canada is listening. He's a very, very proud Kiyingi man. Now, if there was a tournament of soccer between the regions, I'm sure he would do everything possible to make sure Kiyingi takes the national cup. Is this a bad thing for Uganda? No. We are going to get the best of the best from Kiyingi. We are going to get the best of the best from Busoga. We are going to get the best of the best from Lango. And there the country will move forward. So that's how the word federal comes in. It's not a political issue, this one. It's a social organization developmental issue. And of course, cultural issue that we have to understand. We've got to take this into account if you're going to have a peaceful, democratic, and progressive Uganda. That takes me to the next word, democratic. We cannot do away with democratic ideals. These are fundamental now in order to have a progressive society acceptable to the world society. Democracy has been flouted in Uganda. It has been abused. It has been hammered. And Mr. Museveni continues to have sham elections, which, unfortunately, and I'm disappointed here, that those who have the powers in the international community have not condemned him enough. I know they've voiced concern, but I'd like more condemnation. Because this man is a thief. This man is a killer. This man is a terrorist. This man has flaughtily plundered the resources of the country. It's time for him to go. Therefore, that comes the word Uganda Federal Democratic Organization. That's how it came about. I know I said some of the things in my previous address, but this was in Uganda. And therefore, for those of you that I did not address or did not understand Uganda, I'm going to go through a few things that I said. Now, because of the dictatorial and brutal methods that Mr. Museveni uses to suppress any credible opposition, I decided to launch the political platform so that this can take us forward as Ugandans, as Ugandan well-wishers, and as friends of Uganda. You don't have to be a Ugandan. That's why it is not a party, it's an organization. Now, over the last 2 years or so, a lot of groundwork has been done. And I'll give you an example. Because I knew that Mr. Museveni threatens and beats up everybody in Uganda, because I knew that he controls the police, because I knew that he harasses press journalists, I devised a very simple method. I printed business cards. It is pity that I'm speaking on radio so you can't see it, but I can send this to all of you after here if you send me your email. My secretary will do that shortly. Now, this card has got the title, Uganda Federal Democratic Organization, my name, Dr. Aggrey Kiyingi, underneath chairman, and there is a telephone number which you can take down, all of you, and it is functional, plus 61 44 816 1170. And then there is the website, which incidentally, as of 24 hours ago, is now live on the web. www.info, that's INFO, at Uganda FDO. Now, FDO is abbreviation for Federal Democratic Organization. Info at ugandafdo.com. I got some very brave and determined Ugandans, ordinary people, mind you, not cardiologists. Now, and they were very determined to make a change in their country. I'll call them my foot soldiers. And over the last 12 months or so, I have imported into Uganda 1.5 or in excess of 1.5 million business cards. Just business cards with those things that I've told you. This was spearheaded by my chief mobilizer, Aisha Nakaswante. She's a very brave lady, very quiet, does not talk much, but she has done a great job. As we speak, ladies and gentlemen, this lady is now in a prison in Luzira. She was rounded up, beaten, molested, and she was kept in the torture chambers for 5 days without charge. Finally, because of noise that we made, she's been charged. But, God behold, she's been charged with the terrorism and killing of Muslim clerics. Now, she has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with these killings. This is a government ploy. But she's been branded with unfair and untrue organization. As all of you know, this is not new to Mr. Museveni. He does that to every opponent. Dr. Besigye was supposed to have raped somebody, his house girl, when he was standing against Museveni some years back. So this is not new to Museveni. But this lady, my chief mobilizer, is now languishing in prison. And all of us, we must do everything possible to get her released. We must do everything possible so that justice is done. And Mr. Museveni and Mr. Kaihura must answer for their crimes. They are the real terrorists that we have to fight. Now, we have distributed in excess of 1.5 million cards in Uganda. under the watchful eye of Mr. Kaihura and Mr. Museveni, who claims he's got a very good intelligence. That's why I'm saying this man is a coward, and we can take him. We can take him through the elections with hands down. I know he will bring out the guns, but we can overrun those guns. We should not be scared. He can be removed from power with elections. But I'll come to another point, because some people have said that no, you can never do elections in Uganda. And I'll come to that. If he actually blocks every avenue for a peaceful change through elections, like now he's doing, because he's trying to stop me going back to Uganda to launch this political platform. And that's why he's made all these crazy statements in the press. In fact, when you watch Mr. Kaikura, being a doctor, one wonders whether he needs to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. He just talks like a lunatic. Now, these cards have been distributed in every part of Uganda. I want to emphasize that. In every part of Uganda. When my people went to Karamoja to take a few cards there, they were actually almost beaten and chased from Karamoja. The reason was not because they've taken the cards, but they asked them, where have you been all this time? This is what we've been waiting for. Why did you take so long? Our people have been killed, the minerals have been taken, our women have been raped, our cattle has been stolen. Where have you been? This is what we've been waiting for. Now, this was in Karamoja, not even in Kampala. Therefore, it can be done. Towards the end of last year, I told my mobilizers that I would come to Uganda, I would go to Uganda either February or March this year and launch the political platform. And I told them the final arrangements will be discussed and given to you within the last week because of security reasons. Now, because Museveni has got spies everywhere, a word got to him. And then they started hunting down all my mobilizers. He was shocked to see these cards in Mbarara. He was shocked to see these cards in Busoga. He was shocked to see these cards in Fort Poto. And because they knew that this was a very serious problem for them, that's why they've come up with all these pronouncements and garbage over the last 2 months to block me. But let me tell you, this has actually made me stronger. And therefore, I want to talk and appeal to all of you. Everybody who thinks or who knows he loves Uganda, to come together. Forget your parties. At the end of the day, it's not the party. At the end of the day, it's not the area come from. At the end of the day, it is Uganda. So a lot of groundwork has been done. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been getting a lot of mail and say that this is a joke. I can never go back to Uganda. We can never have fair and free elections in Uganda. And therefore, it's a waste of time. I'm not so sure that is true. Now, for those of you who think like that, I want to tell you something. Museveni can block me from going to Uganda. It will not stop me going to Uganda. I'll break whatever he blocks. Museveni can rig elections like he's done over the last 30 years. But I'm telling you that I'm not going to stand for that, and I don't want you to stand for that. The time for him to rig elections is over. If he rigs election this time, I've got 1.5 million. Now, multiply that by 3, because anybody who got that card probably told 3 other friends. So we've got about 5 million already, and I'm not even in Uganda. I can mobilize those people to march to every regional town and to have at least 1 or 2 million people in Kampala. Now, Kayihura, with all his might, can bring his soldiers. I'm sure he can shoot maybe 500,000, but not 2 million. Not at the same time. Now, these people are determined. If you start shooting the civilians, they'll fight back. And it is their right. I'll tell you why. There are many constitutional ways of changing government. The most obvious is through elections, which Museveni has flouted and plundered. The other one, if Museveni just dies a natural death, and then there is a constitutional method of getting somebody caretaker in the government until elections are held. The third one is to have the parliament impeach the president. All of us know that is now impossible. That is impossible because the parliament, as we all know, I know there's 10 or 15% of members of parliament who are genuinely working hard, but their voice is not heard because the 80% is the rubber stamp from Mr. Museveni. Fortunately, maybe he didn't realize, but he signed and he changed the constitution some years back in 1995. And I think it was revised a few years later. And now there have been a few things done, statutes and supplements. But the core of this constitution, which Mr. Museveni signed, and which he claims is ruling the country under the banner of this constitution, actually empowers us, empowers you, empowers the population to remove the president if the other avenues fail. This constitution, which Museveni signed and implemented, empowers the people to remove the president if the president breaks or flagrantly abrogates the constitution. This man has done exactly that. I could spend 2 hours just telling you how many times he's broken the constitution. I'll name just a few. Mr. Museveni broke the constitution when he completely ignored the constitution, when he failed to execute and maintain the constitution and all laws made under or contained in force by the constitution, thereby breaking Article 99, Part 2. He failed to uphold, abide, and safeguard the Constitution and the laws of Uganda, and to promote the welfare of the citizens and protect their territorial integrity. Here he broke Article 99, Part 3. He grossly failed to protect the personal liberty of the citizens, for example, by denying them the right to work, and by detaining them in the so-called ungazetted torture houses named safe houses. Here he broke Article 23, Part 2. Article 24 of the Uganda Constitution says that the respect for human dignity and protection from inhuman treatment, that no person shall be subjected to any form of torture or cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. Mr. Museveni and Mr. Kayihura, without shame, arrested Aisha Nakasivante, my chief mobilizer. She did not have a gun. She had business cards. She did not hold a rally. So she never broke any law. They tortured her. They molested her. They beat her up. And this is one of the many. At the moment, her driver, Asadu Semogerere, is still languishing in Chireka torture or safe house. And I want everybody to note this. Now, if you have any connection to any organization which can get Asadu Semogerere released. This is the time for you to act. Asadu Semogerere is a driver of Aisha Nakasvante. He's in Kireka. They might move him now after my broadcasting it here, but as of yesterday, he was still there in Kireka. He's been beaten, he's been tortured, he's been sick, he has not been given medicine, and he's been repeatedly asked to sign documents which they have drafted, and he has refused. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Museveni and Mr. Kaihura and their henchmen broke Article 24 of the Uganda Constitution. Mr. Museveni denied the citizens protection of right to life by ruthlessly shooting innocent and unarmed citizens, including children and pregnant women. Some of you who watched my broadcast video last week, and it is on the internet, I mentioned the case of Juliana Nalwanga. This was a 2.5-year-old girl shot during broad daylight in her parents' house. She was not armed. She did not carry a gun. She was not demonstrating, and neither were the parents. Museveni has been instigating terror groups and pushing them around using iron bars, deliberately organizing burning down of schools and markets and burial sites with fatal consequences. Now, here he broke Article 22 of the Uganda Constitution. He failed to protect the citizens from inhuman treatment and disrespected their human dignity when his ruthless police, under the direct command and control of the inhuman Mr. Kaihura, tortured unarmed and peaceful demonstrators. Article 24, as we've already said. He denied the citizens the right to privacy of person, home, and other property by unjustified and unconstitutional tapping of telephones and opening of mail. Article 27. Now, I don't know whether there's an article in the Constitution, but I'll tell you that over the last 2 weeks, he has actually blocked money transfers that bear my name into Uganda. Now, I cannot even send medicine funds to Aisha Nakasvante and all the other foot soldiers. Many of you now need to come in, and we need to get together, and we need to be able to help these people, because they've started under my guidance, and they're doing a very good job. We cannot let them down. Mr. Museveni denied the citizens the freedom of assembly and association. And there are many examples of this. I'm not going to details. Here he broke Article 29 of the Constitution. He failed to protect the environment for the common good of Ugandans and used his position for material gain when he dished out or tried to dish out forest reserves, national parks, and game reserves to the so-called investors who are just his cronies to deplete the country and to steal from the country. This was not his personal property. Now, here he broke Article 237 of the Uganda Constitution. Mr. Museveni conducted himself in a manner which brought the office of the president into hatred, ridicule, contempt, and disrepute, when he publicly told the citizens that he did not mind the high prices, which meant he did not care. And when he callously told the Owino market vendors to look for an alternative place and leave the city when their market was ruthlessly burnt down by his henchmen. And also when he publicly declared war on the honest and forward Ugandans who oppose the giving away of Mabera Forest. Here he broke Article 107, Part B, Part 1 of the Constitution. He dishonestly carried out the following acts which were prejudicial and inimical to the economy and security of Uganda. For example, taking over the oil fields as if it was his personal property, irate deals with the bogus investors at the public expense, invasion and looting of our neighboring country, the DRC, with the consequent ruling against Uganda in the International Court for Uganda to compensate the DRC in billions of dollars. Here he broke Article 107, Part B, Part 2. He broke various articles by creating a special class of the untouchables. These have no respect to law, to security, to payment of taxes, civil behavior, and they are corrupt to the core without any punishment. He failed to govern Uganda based on the principle of national interest and common good, enshrined in the national objective and the directive principles of state policy. And here he broke Article 8A of the Constitution. I could go on and on and on. Ladies and gentlemen, if Mr. Museveni tampers with elections next year, or as many of us know, actually prevents this happening, or he prevents any candidate, including myself, to enter Uganda to contest for the presidency under fair and fair conditions, then the Constitution empowers us to remove the president. We are not going to be doing anything unconstitutional. Mr. Museveni has broken the Constitution on numerous occasions, and he continues to do so with impunity. The question is, are you going to stand by? Are you going to be in your comfortable position in Germany or UK or US or New York? Are you going just to talk about it? The time to talk is over. If you're serious about building a new Uganda, if you're serious about reinventing Uganda, if you're serious about bringing peace to the region. Now, this does not even concern Ugandans only. I want to appeal to all my Central Africa and East African colleagues. Many of you have been standing on the fence because you think it's not your problem, but it is your problem. This man has gone to the DRC. This man is in South Sudan. He tried to go into Kenya. I don't know who is going to be next. He went into Rwanda. Now, so it's not actually just a Ugandan problem. This is the time. I would like to appeal to all of you that we come together. If you go to website, there is a section for contribution. Unfortunately, everything needs money. I wish it didn't. I've done my part and I'll continue to do my part, but I don't want you to sit back and say, Dr. Kiyingi has done this, let's wait until we have the change. Shame on you if you think like that. You might as well turn off the radio now. But if you seriously want to be part of this change, if you seriously care for Uganda, this is the time for you to come forward now. Go to the website, make a contribution, and if you're in Uganda, make a contribution. It can be monetary, it can be material. We need to print more than 10,000 t-shirts. We need to print more than maybe 100 million posters. There are many things to be done now. And if Museveni blocks me or blocks us getting into Uganda to launch this political platform, then yes, the Constitution has got an avenue for this. And we need to be prepared. And we don't have time. I hope that on my next address, I'll address specific issues and what we can do if there is a change of government. Not what we can do, what we shall do, what we'll be able to do. And I'll be tackling different parts on a particular day, because if we talk about education, if we talk about health, if we talk security, this is a full address on its own. Because of time, I'll just stop at this introduction for those of you who did not listen last time, or those of you who do not understand Uganda. Or many of the other problems are going to be addressed individually, and all of you know what they are. Unemployment, street kids, immorality, plundering of the resources, parastatal bodies which were destroyed. Museveni has got to answer for all these criminal acts. And I'll be speaking on each topic at a different time. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll stop here. And I want you to get up and get cracking. And the time is now. We don't have a choice. We must change Uganda. We must bring change to Uganda. And this means getting Museveni out of power. It's been too long, and we don't have time. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. May God bless you all.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you for
those wonderful words. We are really grateful for the time you have given us. I don't know whether you have much time. Are you in position to take a few questions from our listeners?
Yes, I'll take a few questions.
Okay.
And I also just re-emphasize that people can go on the website, and there's a section for contribution. There's a section for discussion. If any of you has got any article which you are scared to publish before, or which you tried to publish and you are stopped, and the newspaper or radio program was censored, send it to us. We shall publish it. We shall put it online. And as I've told you, and I'll tell you again, Museveni is a coward, and I'm not scared of Museveni. And I want all of you from today to start singing. Even in your bathroom, even in your sleep, we are not scared of Museveni. Okay? Therefore, I'll take a few calls. But I'll also be appearing on the Voice of Uganda radio next week, the same time. This is going to be in English. Voice of Uganda radio, I'd like to tell all of you. And then tomorrow, I'm going to be appearing on this same radio, but in Uganda. Next week, same time, Voice of Uganda Radio in English at the same time. I'll take a few questions now.
Thank you, Doctor. I want to remind our listeners that the lines are open. If you are there and you've got a question for Dr. Kiyingi, this is the time. Our phone number is 818-534-8273. I have a question from our friend in Jinja. This is Mr. Ekweru.
Yeah.
The question reads, what's the difference between a platform and a party? He wants to, I think you already addressed this, but if you could throw more light on it, it will be, I think, a wonderful
A platform is all-encompassing. It takes in everybody. And this was my intention. This is my intention at this time. There are many people who are in the NRM party of Mr. Museveni, and they're not happy. I'm telling you. They're not happy. And many of them do not subscribe to his policies or his brutal ways. There are many people in DP and the UPC and all the other parties. Now, if we call this a party, many people are going to say, hey, but I belong to DP. My father belonged to the DP. My grandfather belonged to the DP. If I join a new party, I'm actually letting down my forefathers who founded DP. No, you don't have to leave DP. You don't have to leave UPC. You don't have to leave NRM. But you can come together under this platform for the common good of Uganda in getting better leadership to move the country forward. So this platform is actually all-encompassing, and you don't have to disown your party. Next question.
Thank you very much. This question, the second question is from Mr. Adam from Kampala. What if you fail in the polls to oust Mr. Museveni in 2016? What are the options?
Now, I'll answer that one. I'm not in the habit of failing. And I joke with many people. I tell them that the word failure does not exist in my vocabulary. 2, if it is a free and fair election, I can beat Mr. Museveni hands down. So let him be reassured. I've done my homework. I've done the groundwork. Museveni is no match if there is a free and fair election. Next question.
This question is from Brandon M., Washington, D.C. It reads, do you have plans to chase our looted goods back to Uganda? For
Other
instance,
what?
Finance. Looted goods. Finance. That's what it mentions. Do you have plans, if you win and you become the next president of Uganda, do you have plans to chase our looted goods back to Uganda? E.g., finance.
Oh, okay, to take looted goods back to Uganda.
Yes.
All right, now I understand the question. Well, look, as you know, yes, definitely would like to, but would have to talk to wherever these goods are. Some people may be protecting him. Some banks may refuse to talk to us. But I'm telling you, there are avenues that we can use to recoup a lot of the stolen property and money. And for the countries that are sheltering, and for the countries that where he's put the money, it will be in their interest, let me tell you, for them to cooperate with us and return the money that truly belongs to the Ugandans. So that we can handle when we're in power, but I'm sure we will. If we talk to them nicely and firmly, they will see that it is to their advantage that they cooperate with us, because a lot has been stolen out of Uganda. On this call, if any of you has got information of where Mr. Kutesa has taken the money, or Mr. Salim Saleh, please let us know. We already have done a lot of work. We already know where some of the accounts are. We already know which some of the properties they own where, but I'm sure he's been very clever and he's hidden a lot. So if any of you has got any information, please send it to me. And definitely we shall act on that to recoup what truly belongs to Uganda.
Let's go to the line, to the phone here. Call, are you there? Call, are you there? What's your question?
Nze mbadde mbuuza mukama wange nti wiiki eno nabadde mpuliriza amawulire ku Radio Simba nga ndi ene South Africa gye ndi, nawulidde Kayihura yagambye nti ku bantu basigazza bamanyi asigazzaayo Dr. Kiyingi and Jamiru Mukulu.
Okay.
Yagambye nti asigazzaayo Dr. Kiyingi and Jamiru Mukulu. Naye kati nze kyembuuza lyabwa n'abatuuse tebamukwate.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I will answer that both in Luganda and English, since the speakers asked in Luganda. First in Luganda. Kakati sebo, ebyo ebyokutiisatiisa bya Museveni ne Kayihura tebijja kutuuza mabega. Abantu basazeewo. Singa mbabuulira abantu be bakubye ne be basse, mbadde sinnabituukako, nja byogera oluvannyuma. Babakuba ne bagamba, wandiika wano ogambe nti mbadde muyekera wa Kiyingi. Naga nedda ssebo, nze sijja kuwandiika, mbadde nina kaadi, siri muyekera. Ne bamukuba ne bamutta. Kati abantu ng'abo tebajja kukkiriza mwami Museveni na Kayihura kwongera kubatiisatiisa, okuggyako ng'ate ffe tuterebuse ne tutagenda kukola kubeera nabo. Naye bwe kinaatuuka awo, bwe banajja okunkwata nga ntuuse entebe, nabo abantu bajja bakwatira entebe awo. Akakadde kalamba kajja kujja kakwata abasajja ba Museveni n'aba Kayihura. N'olwekyo ekyo temukitya, era bw'anaakikola y'anaaba atandise ebinaddirira. Now, I would just answer that in English. This gentleman was rightly so very worried that if I go back to Uganda, won't I be arrested and killed and charged and all sorts of things? Yes, I know that. But that is one of the ways that Mr. Kayihura and Musa Museveni have consistently threatened opponents. Now, I'm not scared. I'm not threatened by these thugs. If he stops me going back to Uganda to launch this political platform, then the people will rise up. And any consequences after that, he'll be solely responsible. There is no turning back. And Mr. Museveni and Kayihura must know that we are now not scared anymore of his terror machinery. And we can handle it.
Thank you.
Next question.
Yeah, we have another question. This is from Kampala, Uganda. This is MM from Kampala. He wants to know whether you are consulting with other political parties in the country right now.
Yes. A lot of other underground, let me say, things are going on. As you know, if I openly say that I've been discussing with the Secretary General of this party, probably that Secretary General might have an accident by tomorrow. Or he might be attacked. So I am not going to announce on the radio now. However, I'll go back, and I said this very deliberately, that this platform is for everybody, every party. And I said that because of a number of reasons. I'll stop there. But I'm not going to mention names because they may be killed. Plain and simple. At this stage. At a later stage, yes, we're in a position to announce that. But yes, this party or this platform is not a party, it's a platform for everybody. Next question.
We have someone say it's a suggestion. This one is from London. They want to get the phone number again from you. Yeah, the phone number on your website, and the name of the platform where to channel their finances or their support.
The organization is called the Uganda Federal Democratic Organization. The telephone number is +61. That's an Australian number. So +61 44 816 1170. The email is info, that's INFO, at ugandafdo.com. The FDO is a short way of saying Federal Democratic Organization. So info at ugandafdo.com. The website is www.ugandafdo.com. All the instruction will be there on the front page under the word PayPal. And there is a discussion board.
Okay, let's pick this caller here. Caller, are you there?
Oh, yes, I am. This is Material. I don't know if the doctor is still available.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, this is Material. Thank you very much, Dr. Aggrey Kiyingi. First, for the courage. Second, for motivation, to motivating Ugandans wherever they are. And we are more than glad to see that at least someone is willing to come public. My question to you, Dr. Aggrey, as you know, the countries of the world, the United States, even Australia where you are, with Britain, Germany, and others, they have been, in one way or the other, accepting the status quo. What plans do you have, or have you done, to make sure these people know the real story of Uganda?
Can you just repeat that, Mr. Moderator? It was a bit muffled this end. Just repeat the question for me.
Mr. Material, can you repeat the question, please?
Okay, I'll repeat the question. Dr. Aggrey,
you can, if the moderator can repeat it for me, because I can hear the moderator very well.
Yes, I
but
will.
Somehow I can't hear the other gentleman very well.
For him, Mr. Bill Kandamanda.
Okay, what was the question?
The question was, as he knows, Western countries have been accepting the status quo in Uganda.
Uganda, they have assisted Museveni in one way or the other. What plans has he got to make sure that they understand the real story of the suffering of people, plundering resources, killing people, everything that has been done under the cover? What plan has he done, or does he have, to make sure countries like the U.S., Great Britain, Australia, they know the real story?
Thank you very much. I'm going to repeat the question to you, Doctor. Mr. Mathieu Vega is calling from Canada, and he says, as you know, the Western countries have been supporting the status quo in Uganda. The stealing of our resources, corruption and all that. What plans have you made to tell the story, to make these Western countries aware of what is taking place in the country?
Thank you very much. Before I answer that, there's one thing I didn't say on the previous question. This platform my platform is not associated with the ADF. It's not associated with this Mr. Jamil Mukuru. We have no connection whatsoever. And this is all political propaganda for Mr. Museveni to have a way of blocking my going back to Uganda. This has nothing to do with the ADF, has nothing to do with the Jamil Mukuru. I'd like to make that very clear. Now, the issue of the Western countries. Look, I'm living in the West for many, many years. So I'm fortunate that actually I know both. I know Africa, I know Uganda, I know the Western region countries very well. I don't think there is any problem. If I talk to them, which currently we're doing, I don't think there will be any problem. And I'd like to correct that a little bit. Some of these Western countries I don't think at the moment support Mr. Museveni. But maybe they've been disappointed that we have not stood up. We have not come up. Look, they're not going to do the job for us. We have to stand up first. We have to show that we can take over from this man credibly through elections or otherwise. The people themselves have got a mandate under the Constitution to do this. And therefore, the Western countries, they're not going to do it for you. They're not going to go and vote out Museveni. So I know many people blame the Western countries, but unfortunately, we have to take responsibility. And I believe that when we take responsibility and they see that we are serious and we talk to them, there will be no problem at all. If anything, as I've said before, it will be in their interest to talk to us. I'll just give you just a slight inkling of how easy that job is going to be. If you look on the website under political videos, there is a video which shows some atrocities in northern Uganda. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg, and there will be more coming. Now, this video has been suppressed for a long time in many quarters, so that doesn't come public. I've made it public. I've stuck out my head. Now, you tell me, if there is any Western country that will see that video and tomorrow stands up for Mr. Museveni? No one. No one. If they see that video, I'm sure they are quickly going to say, hey, look, where have you been? They will be like the Camera Jong. They say, that's what we've been waiting for. Where have you been? So I don't expect any problem with the West. And I do feel that we shall work very well together. And at the end of the day, if there is a proper system in Uganda, if the proper democratic system in Uganda, if there is no corruption, if you don't have to bribe your way to get a contract, this is a win-win situation for Ugandans and for the West. They'll be able to do business without having to pay millions under the table in order to get a contract. So I don't expect any problems with the West. None at all.
Okay. Mr. D, I just want to very briefly follow up with a short question. Am I still here?
Yes, you are.
Yes. and quote-unquote maybe the West. Doesn't he think it is very, very important for him to win over, or at least present himself as a person who can do just as that in order to get their support? Because right now they may just look at him as the tool for their interest.
Can you repeat your question, Mr. Matilvega? Your phone is...
My question, let me refine it too. My question is, currently Museveni is fighting a proxy war for the United States in Somalia.
Yes.
He has presented himself as the fighter of terrorism.
Right.
And that's why he's even connecting Dr. Kiyingi with the terrorists.
Right.
So they can brand him in that group. But how does Dr. Kiyingi, what is his strategy to overcome that narrative?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Matilvega. I'm going to repeat the question, Doctor, for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Matilvega says that Museveni is fighting a proxy war for the West in Somalia. And he has demonstrated that he can take on all the terrorists in the region. And he's using that, he has used that excuse or that narrative to brand you, to connect you to the terrorists.
Yes.
How prepared are you to tackle that narrative?
Was very easy. Mr. Museveni is a terrorist. There are questions how Mr. Garang died and a few other people. In terms of internal terrorism, there are a lot of questions of what he's done. And I mentioned it briefly in my broadcast last week. In terms of the region, Museveni's army has killed and raped people in southern Sudan when he went to help the current government. Now, this is on record. Many of you know that he tried to interfere in Kenya. And I could give examples. Now, in Somalia, although on the surface of it he's done a work for the West, if you talk to the real people in Somalia, he has not been that clean. People have been raped. Women have been raped. Is this what you want and you say you're fighting terrorism? I do feel that with good communication, we can get peace in Somalia under my leadership with maybe 1% of bloodshed. And I'm sure if the West listens to the way I can handle that, they'll be more than happy. It will be financially less of a burden to them, internationally less of a burden, and it's a win-win situation for the West, for Uganda, and for the Somalis. So Somalia, to me, is not a very big issue. We can handle that, and 100 times better than Museveni has done.
Thank you, Doctor. I think we know Doctor has got a busy schedule.
Yes.
I think we're gonna ask him to conclude, or maybe give us a few words, before he signs off. And then will join us again tomorrow. Oh, I have someone here in the studio. I think he has a question for you before you go, Doctor. Hold on.
Okay. Yes. One more.
Doctor, this is Musa in the studio. Nice hearing from you for the first time, I believe, maybe on live broadcast. This is a question for me. You talked about the safe houses. Notably, we know one in Chireka, which you just mentioned. Then there is another safe house, I believe, at Kololo near the Danish embassy, according to the reports we received.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned that one of our representative, maybe the driver for Aisha,
yes,
is locked up in one of those safe houses at Chireka.
That's right.
There is another safe house also at, I just forgot that place, at Kisasi.
Yes.
This is run by Mohoz himself.
Yes.
Son of the president. Now, these safe houses we are mentioning, which I'm assuming in the country, mostly run by Museveni, Salim Saleh, Janet, and Muhoozi the son. There is a possibility that these people might flee the country once changes come to the country.
Which people? What do you mean flee? The Muhoozi and the group?
Museveni, and they might flee to Kigali. I believe that's the only safe place for them once that time comes.
Okay.
Do we have preparations with the international community to probably maybe extradite these people from those countries to stand trial to be charged with these crimes that they have committed in these safe houses?
Yes, I agree with you entirely. And as I'm saying, I'm not sure that, they might try to run, but after we present what we are presenting now, that the many countries would be like to be associated with Mr. Museveni. I don't think so. I think many of them will actually help us get these guys. And so let's be optimistic that yes, I don't think many people are going to stand up and say we are going to house these people. That's a very technical issue, and yes, definitely we know how to handle that. Probably this is not the forum, because once you tell them that we are going to do this, they are going to make sure that they do the other thing and run away or something like that.
See.
Yes, but yes, it's a very serious issue, and it is being handled.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes.
Give us 2 or 3 words to sign off, and then we'll call it, I think, a day for them. Wait for you tomorrow, Doctor.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for listening, and I'm sure that they will give me another opportunity to address you. In the meantime, this is not my war. This is not just my crusade. I'm just the forerunner. I'm just the front. I want all of you. Don't just listen and go home and sleep. If you go home and sleep and you forget people like Aisha, if you forget people who have lost their lives, then please, I wish that you get nightmares in your sleep. So don't do that. Do something positive now to redeem the country. Don't say next year. Don't say next 5 years. The time is now. Thank you very much. God bless you.
88534 ku kitimba tuli ku www.radiomunansi.com nga bwe twabasuubiza era nga bwe tuzze tulanga